and welcome to today's video. In this video, I am going to be talking about all of my breastfeeding tips, my breastfeeding hacks, and all the things so far that I have experienced in my short 3 months of breastfeeding. So first of all, let me start by saying that I had an overactive letdown and an oversupply for the first 3 months. So far in my journey, what I've found is that your milk supply changes and fluctuates, of course, for supply and demand, but it also changes throughout your baby's life. So for the first 3 months, I had an oversupply and an overactive letdown. I think I may still have the overactive letdown a little bit. And excuse my dog, he's eating. I think I may still have the overactive letdown a little bit, but I definitely don't have the oversupply like I did before. I was producing so much milk, and when I say so much milk, I really mean so much milk. I'll show you guys a picture of my freezer here so you guys can see all of the milk that I stashed in pretty much the first 2 months, maybe even less, maybe the first month and a half or so. I have not been collecting milk for a while now. I have just been tossing it down the sink, which is very sad. But my freezer is full and I can't donate my milk yet because I had a blood transfusion. So if you didn't know, you can donate your milk. There are lots of different milk donation places. I will link the one that we have here below in Utah. So if you guys want to reach out to them to donate your milk, you guys can do that. Look it up for your specific state because they may have different ones where you donate your milk. However, so I will still be donating my milk, and I'll let you guys know how that goes. I just have to wait till I'm 4 months postpartum. I have to get my blood drawn to see if I have anything from my blood transfusion, and if I'm cleared, then I can donate all my milk. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll let you guys know how that process goes. So anyways, with all of that, I have collected a lot of information from people. I've collected a lot of great websites and articles and things that you guys can read for all the different breastfeeding things. I also have some tips and tricks that I'm going to be sharing in this video. My milk supply has already changed. I've had mastitis. I've had a clogged duct. I've had all these crazy things happening to me. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you learn a lot. And I hope that you don't have to learn it the hard way like I did. Okay, so let's get started. I'm just gonna go ahead and go over my breastfeeding journey, and I'm gonna kind of share different tips or tricks or hacks that I learned along the way. And then I'm gonna talk about my clogged duct and my mastitis and what I did for that. So when I started out breastfeeding, my baby didn't really cluster feed all that much. I didn't feed a ton in the hospital. I had a C-section and I couldn't really get up and out of bed without help for the first 2 days after birth. And even that third day, it was really hard. And once we got home and I got into bed, it was so hard for me to get up and out of bed. Like once I was in bed, I was staying there. So I didn't really cluster feed a ton, and I wish I would have done just a little bit more cluster feeding for my milk to be able to come in. It did start to come in while I was in the hospital, but it did take a little bit for it to come in fully. Once it did come in, I was very engorged. I had a lot of pain. I had my overactive letdown. My baby was choking a lot. I was producing a ton of milk. I was filling up the haka on one side when I was feeding my baby on the other side, and my baby was getting full off of just one side. So something I didn't know, and I'm putting all this out here because I want to be able to help people. So something I wasn't aware of is that you feed on this side till it's completely empty, and then you give your baby a little bit, as much as they want, from this side in the same feeding. And I just wasn't even aware of that because my baby was getting all the milk that he needed from one side, which is pretty wild. That is something that I didn't know and I didn't do for a while. We're now finally to the point where I can kind of do that, and he's getting more milk from both sides, which is really cool. After we got home from the hospital, my milk did finally come in, and I was freezing a lot of milk. I was bagging pretty much everything. One thing I would recommend is if you are going to freeze and bag milk, don't freeze and bag 2 ounces or 3 ounces or 1 ounce of milk. Just bag 6 ounces of milk. Like, fill the bag and freeze that. That will help a ton with your amount of bags that you have in the freezer, because a lot of my bags that I have are 2 ounces or 3 ounces, which now is not enough for a bottle for him. if he does need to take a bottle. So if you are going to freeze your milk, I recommend just filling up that bag all the way and sealing it off and then freezing it. From there, I also realized I was dealing with an overactive letdown. Now, some people say that an overactive letdown is not a real thing. I, however, think it is a real thing. I had a very painful letdown. I could feel my milk coming down. It was very painful in my armpits. And when my milk would let down, it was just like literally like a scratching sensation, like super painful. And lots of people even say that they don't even feel their milk come in. So that was my clue number one. My second clue was that my baby was choking and spitting out milk and not able to stay on the boob when he was feeding. So that was a huge thing. I did a lot of research. I asked a couple friends and I've talked to some people. I was able to work with the letdown. Something that I tried is I just take an extra burp cloth and I'll just catch that milk and just kind of let it run out, because it would literally spray out and be spraying my baby in the face. So if you catch that milk and just until the letdown is done and then put the baby back on, then they can go ahead and continue eating. Now there is foremilk and hindmilk, and if you're very curious about that, you guys can do your own research. So you want to make sure your baby is getting adequate foremilk and hindmilk, since there are different protein and fat in the two different milks. When you have an overactive letdown though, I will just say the most important thing is that your baby's getting fed. Talk to your doctor and figure all of that out. However, as long as they're getting fed, that is where the most important thing is. I was able to just catch a little bit of that milk until he was ready to get back on and eat. And then once he did eat, he would usually stay on. I also, because he's gasping and choking a little bit more on that milk, I would burp him more frequently. There are lots of different YouTube videos and articles and things you can do to read about an overactive letdown and do more research for yourself if that is something that you're dealing with. The next thing I want to talk about is feeding in public with an overactive letdown and an oversupply. When I was at home, I was feeding my baby on one side and using the haka on the other. So I was able to collect a lot of milk. When you're feeding out in public, you don't always have the opportunity to go into a separate room and use the haka and kind of be on full display. You need to be able to feed where you can and stay pretty much fully clothed. So one thing that you can do is, if you take and fold your bra down, you can take an extra cloth diaper or burp cloth and stick that underneath your bra. So when you have that overactive letdown and that oversupply, a lot of milk is dripping out of your baby's mouth. And so it's either getting your clothes wet or their clothes wet. So if you can tuck that in there, then it protects your clothes and your bra, and it also protects your baby's clothes a little bit because they're kind of more pushed up against that. So you can use that. The other thing I do is, even when I'm feeding in public and I have my nursing cover on and I'm holding my baby, I will have an extra burp cloth in there. So if he pops off, I can put the burp cloth right on it to catch that extra letdown, and it won't be spraying all over and getting him wet in the face or getting all over my clothes. So that's a great thing that you can do as well. And then I do also take a nursing pad and put it in the opposite side in my bra to catch any letdown. So again, I'm not getting all of my clothes wet. It's very hard to feed in public and wear the nursing cover if it's hot. You're worried about your baby being hot. So just do what works for you. I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned from breastfeeding so far, is do what works for you. If that means that you have to take your shirt off and go sit in a quiet room and you have 4 different things, you have something around your waist, you have a towel over here, you have a burp cloth over here, just to catch all of the milk, then you do that. That is what's working best for you. Then you got to do it, because again, the most important thing is that your baby is being fed. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is my clogged milk duct and my mastitis. So just for reference, today is Tuesday, yesterday was Monday, Memorial Day, and the day before that was Sunday. So for the mastitis, my baby slept through the night for the first time on Sunday night. So Sunday to Monday night, he slept through the night for the first time. Monday morning, I woke up in serious pain. We were already down to 1 feeding, so that was good. But I woke up in serious pain because my boobs were so engorged. My baby hadn't eaten anything through the night. So I woke up, I pumped because I was in so much pain. I pumped enough off that I would be able to then go in and feed my baby. I fed my baby. He was still able to get a ton of milk. It was so crazy how much milk it was. And I ended up not feeling well later in the day. So a couple of symptoms that I had where I was like, oh my gosh, this is probably something that I should be worried about, where I kind of knew it was mastitis. My joints were really achy, so like maybe more like flu-like symptoms where I was really achy and my knees and my legs were kind of hurting. And then I don't normally take ibuprofen because I just don't really need it all that much, and I'd like to try and do other things to make myself feel better. Later on through the day, we went to my in-laws' house for Memorial Day for a little barbecue, and their house is normally fairly warm, and I was cold in their house, and so I had to go lay outside on the sidewalk because it was so much warmer out there, and that's just not really like me. We got home and we sat down on the couch, and I was shaking. I had 3 blankets on, I had the chills, I was not feeling good. We went to go to bed to do our dream feed and feed the baby at 10 o'clock. Taylor took my temperature and I had a fever of 101. So we figured that's probably mastitis. I didn't really have any redness or swelling or tenderness of any kind. I did have pain with my letdown, but I normally have that, so I wasn't sure that it was a big deal. Then after that, my baby didn't wake up again through the night, so all last night he didn't wake up. I woke up this morning, my fever broke, so I didn't have a fever anymore, and I did have a little bit of redness. So I have a couple of tricks for a clogged milk duct or mastitis. It is now 2:00 p.m. I am feeling a ton better. I am feeling a ton better. So a couple things that I did, I used the Haka, and what I would do is I would fill it with a little bit of Epsom salt, hot water, and then you put it on one side, and if you lean back and let that water go all the way up, then that should pull that clog out. The other thing I did was we actually have like a massage gun. I'll link the one that we got below. We just got it off of Amazon. We got it for Christmas. I used that, and that actually helped a ton. It's probably a little bit more violent than what you should do. Usually people say an electric toothbrush to kind of help and just move that clog out, but the massage gun actually worked really well. So I used that, and then I also woke up. I set myself an alarm for 3:30 a.m. and I pumped in the middle of the night because I didn't know if he was going to wake up again. So I pumped in the night even though he didn't feed. I also took Tylenol at night before bed and ibuprofen this morning before I went to my lunch with my friend. So again, I'm feeling a lot better. Those were my 2 main tricks, the massage gun and the Epsom salt and the Haka. That works wonders, and that also worked for the clogged duct that I had about a month and a half ago. So those were the 2 things that worked best. I think I'm still a little bit on the mend from the mastitis. I'm feeling a lot better though. I'm not feeling shaky or nauseous or flu-like at all. And then as far as how my milk supply has changed at around the 3-month mark, I do feel like I still have a little bit of that overactive letdown. My milk does still come out really hard, and I can feel that letdown, and it does still shoot out sometimes and spray my baby in the face. But as far as the engorgement and how much milk I'm getting in the Haka, I barely get any milk in the Haka, and I'm not engorged anymore. So now I can feed on this side. My baby will feed till this side's completely empty. I'll put him on this side and he'll feed about halfway on this side. So it's really nice to be able to see that milk supply shift and to be able to feel so much better and feel like I can actually feed in public and not feel like I'm gonna have a problem or leaking or spilling or anything like that. The other thing I do want to mention too is there have been a couple of times where when Wesley did sleep a little bit longer through the night, so instead of feeding at 3:30, he fed at 5:30 or something like that, I would leak milk in the night. So I normally just wear like a thin type of shirt underneath my pajama top at night. So if you do leak at night, you may want to wear a loose fitting bra or a night nursing bra with some nursing pads in it. That will usually help. But I did leak a ton. I'll actually put up a picture right here for you guys so you can see how much I leaked. This was through my thin shirt underneath my pajama top, and then onto the sheets. So it was a ton of milk there as well, but if that does happen, those are a couple tricks you can do for that. All right, so that is pretty much it. Everything so far that has happened through my breastfeeding journey, and a couple tips and tricks for you guys. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Also, feel free to comment down below any tips or tricks that you guys have, or if you have any questions for me, you can comment down below, or you can DM me on Instagram. I'll leave my link here. And I hope that you guys have an awesome day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.